This video is on the effect of trauma. So we can measure trauma by their manifesting symptoms. And a lot of the Western medicine approach or the medical approach is to gauge what we do, how the person is treated by their symptoms. So for example, if you look at this set of symptoms, anger, shame, obesity, and addiction, they're all covered with medication. Notice the X. X represents that anger, shame, obesity, and addiction was covered by some sort of a medicative approach outside in, right? Well, what happens in real trauma, because you haven't addressed the root cause, you've only addressed the symptom, is that it's like a hydra. The symptoms all return and it even grows. So now I have rage, shame, obesity, addiction, chronic illnesses. What I'm suggesting is that taking a challenge, anxiety, obesity, stress, any kind of maladaptive behavior, chronic criticism, have to be right, holding grudges, can't let things go, and we just cover them, they're only going to be covered for a certain amount of time. They don't heal. That's why lots of the medication that we're now giving out, the what we call Pharmageddon, is really not helping us get better. It's just holding us at bay, and then it actually progressively gets worse over time. Let me explain to you where these symptoms come from so we can address them at the root cause. Every one of the symptoms you see on this screen is coming from a trauma. Some sort of a sensitizing event that created that symptom. So rape, molestation, a divorce, maybe a car accident. You had to move. Maybe you were left at school for 2 or 3 hours. Mom forgot to get you, or mom got in a car accident, couldn't get you. One of the most severe ones I heard was a 16-year-old teenage, a senior in a high school student, became addicted to cocaine because her mother got cancer. Her father spent all the time with the mother at the cancer clinic, and basically during the formative years from 14 to 16, left the girl all by herself. Parents aren't really at fault. It wasn't anything they could do differently, probably, at least in hindsight, it's tough to say. But she became addicted to cocaine because of a sensitizing event. But here's the key. Every one of those symptoms is sitting on the foundation of an initial sensitizing event that in all likelihood happened before your cognitive memory. Something that happened between conception, perhaps around age 3 or so. That sensitizing event is creating a false narrative. That false narrative then gets compounded because then other sensitizing events happen, because that person, if I was perhaps molested at an early part of my life, getting molested is going to be what the norm is. And it's hard to understand and tough to fathom, but that's why they continue to be molested. That's why their relationships are harmful, because it's familiar. And that belief they have, the false belief they have about themselves, it's how they're actually going to medicate moving forward. So someone comes into their life that creates safety, they'll actually push them away and they'll sabotage it. All because these initial sensitizing events, which lead to other sensitizing events, create a compounding effect to where we continually look out in the world to find out, can I have that happen again? See, I'm trying to prove that I don't have worth, that I'm worthless, I'm helpless, I'm hopeless. It's very important that we understand that if you're telling yourself a false narrative, this model explains how you got it. Now, we're going to reverse engineer that. This entire process is about reverse engineering. When you start doing your habit stacking, when you do your deliberate practice, when you follow and create your own container, your foxhole based on principles, when you start following your sacred hour, during your awareness journal, being aware of what's going on, practicing self-awareness, moving to self-regulation, doing implementation statements, doing your mindfulness. Do you see all these little things will compound up, and they'll continually start to make new neural pathways for you to travel. Ultimately, you get that beautiful neural pathway, so you've learned to focus so you can lose focus. And I'm saying these over and over again, so you can compound them in your mind. This process isn't a single one and done. This is for everything in your life. You address one addiction, you can now address a second addiction because you've learned the principles necessary to do the simple things, the little things, a little bit at a time. And as James Clear explains in Atomic Habits, try to get a little bit better every day, 1%. Don't try to knock a home run. The minute you hear something new, oh, I'm going to be perfect in this one, meaning perfectionist, that's harmful. That's a way to cover your feelings of inadequacy. Be perfect. Make a mistake, do a retake. Get it over with. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how you're going to learn. Every step along the way is going to help you entrench yourself into these new pathways, these new habits. Habits will then give you the results. Thanks for listening. Until next time.